Wow, we finally got you. I have seen you everywhere, world tours, PR things for the UFC. You're in Asia, you're in Brazil, you're all over the place. Can't get you on this program. What did we do to offend you, Miesha?
Nothing really. I've just been so busy, and I think you finally have the right number now. So
okay.
I switched numbers. Maybe you were contacting some stranger that's like, leave me alone, you know?
Actually, I was getting nothing back. So, I mean, that's almost worse because then I didn't even know if you were mad at me, ignoring me, whatever the case may be. You are here. We're very happy about that. Is it possible, Miesha, that you're busier in retirement than you were as a fighter?
Yeah, I think it's not just possible. I think it's reality. I figured things would slow down a little bit, but it's just not my personality. I like to be busy. I always think busy is better than bored, and I'm just a go, go, go kind of person. I'm actually at a meeting right now with my financial advisor, so I took a moment to take this call, and I already went hiking like 5 miles this morning, so I've had a wonderful day so far, and it's always busy like that for me, though.
So if I meet you on the street, we're chatting, and I say, "Oh, what do you do? Like, what is your occupation? What is Miesha Tate now? What do you do? What do you like when you wake up? Other than stay in shape and have fun, work out, things like that. What's your occupation?"
That is such a hard question. I'm always kind of baffled. I don't know what to say when people ask me that. I'm like, everything?
Okay.
I don't know. Everything? I really don't know. I don't know how I would qualify that. I kind of say that I'm sort of an ambassador for the UFC and an analyst for Fox Sports. I guess that's the best way to sum it up. But that really encompasses a lot of different things. And that's not even just my personal business ventures, so that's the best way I can sum it up. Everything.
Is that an official sort of title that you have with UFC, ambassador?
I don't know if it's official. That's kind of how I've deemed myself, and I've heard some other people, refer to it that way. But it's not like there's a contract that says that's what I am. So technically, I'm just like a independent contractor.
Okay.
They call when they need, and I ask. So I'll be doing a few things like for International Fight Week. I'll be doing a panel this Wednesday, I believe it is, with a few of the other females, Paige Van Zandt and Cris and Joanna. So just things like that, just staying busy with UFC and trying to continue to help the sport develop.
And so what's interesting is we are a year removed exactly from when you were going into UFC 200 as champion. And, that was your first title defense. And of course, we know how it all turned out. But I'm wondering, a year later, if I ask you, like, is Miesha Tate happier today, not fighting, doing this ambassador stuff, working on television, or happier when you were going into your first title defense? What would the answer be?
At this point, it's all relative, but I would say right now in this moment of time, I'm happier right where I'm at. I don't feel like I need to be in there fighting anymore. 10 years was enough to really fill that for me. And I felt like I did everything and accomplished a lot. There's more I would have liked to do, but there's always going to be more. So really it's just transition to other things in my life that I want to do and I want to accomplish. And it's so nice not having the looming pressure of a fight overhead. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of sacrifice. And people don't realize that fighters sacrifice so much. We hear a lot about the weight cutting and the dieting. Well, that's just like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that's the really sucky part of the job, but not to mention the birthdays that are missed, the Christmases that are missed, funerals, weddings. All of those things are things when you're in training camp, you just can't afford to get away. You have to be there every day, day in, day out. And it's just such a grind, So I'm just excited to be able to help, some of the up-and-comers coming into the sport. I'm excited to be able to get out and go hiking, to train, leisurely as I please. And like I said, to help push the sport in other ways. I'm enjoying that.
Since walking away, has the UFC reached out to you about trying to come back?
Not at all. No, I think they would wait for me to say anything if I wanted to. I made it pretty clear that the decision was final.
Do you foresee any circumstance that would bring you back, or do you think it's pretty much shut, it's done?
I think it's pretty much shut and done. You can never really 100% predict the future. When I went into my last fight, I didn't know it was going to be my last. So it's just things are always changing. But I really don't feel like a desire or need or want to come back. And I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, financially, like in a good spot. So the only thing that would bring me back is if for some reason that fire was reignited, because I never started fighting for money. My first year or so was free. I fought my first 6 fights as an amateur. And then, women's MMA 9 years ago was not, not like such a hot thing to do. So it wasn't like we were making much then either. It was pennies on the dollar. So, money was never like the motivating thing for me to fight. So it's not going to be a motivating thing for me to come back. It's all about the passion, and my passion has just changed over a decade. It's come to new things, and I'm really excited to take on the new challenges that life is bringing. And broadcasting, being an analyst, that's very challenging. It's a lot of studying. I haven't studied that much since I've been in college. So.
And you do a great job at it. So it's good that you're into it and that you're getting more opportunities. And I'm just curious, since we haven't talked since that fight, was there a moment that you recall when you knew in your mind you were done? Because you say you didn't think you would be done going into the fight. Do you recall the moment where you knew right then and there it's over?
Yeah, because it was like somewhere in the 3rd round, we were up against the cage, and I just didn't have like the fire to like go. Like I just couldn't pull it out to just really put on that fight of the night performance that I like to typically do. And that's an awful feeling to like kind of realize that like you're at that crossroad and it's like you don't have it to go, and that's not a way to fight. It's not fair to my opponent. It's not fair to me, and it's certainly not fair to the fans. So I just don't want to fight like that. I didn't think that I haven't even watched my last fight, but I know it wasn't a good one. And I don't ever care to put on performances like that. It's, if people are going to put on so-so performances and just get in there for, shits and giggles, like I just don't think that's the way to do it. So for me, it's all or none. And the fact that there is even a question in my mind or a point that I couldn't pull the trigger was just like, nope, I don't fight that way. It's all or none. And I didn't like the way that I felt in there. So I just figured it was time. Do
you think you'll ever watch it?
Yeah, I think I will someday.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. But, it hasn't crossed my mind as like a must, it's not on my bucket list. So.
Sure. You experienced it. And it wasn't that long ago. The thing that I actually remember the most from that fight, going back and watching it on television, there's a moment, I don't know if you remember this, where you tell your corner that you're done. And I believe it's Brian Caraway who's trying to convince you not to say that you're done. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do. That was after the fight.
Yeah, that was right after the fight. It's kind of strange to watch because you're the fighter, you're making the announcement, and we know about the relationship with Brian. He was your boyfriend for a very long time. Was that an awkward spot for you when you're trying to tell someone I'm done and they're trying to stop you from actually making that announcement?
Yeah, I understand where he was coming from because I've been in there personally when fighters are emotional and they're making hasty decisions, when it's like you just lost and you're upset and you're, I think he didn't want me to jump the gun and say something hasty if I wasn't ready, and still really believes in me as a fighter. So that was, I think, where he was coming from. But I just knew, I really, really knew, because I wasn't emotional at that point, and that's the problem. Like I wasn't emotional, and I just was flat, and it just didn't feel good to be in there that way. So I was like, the fact that I'm not upset about this is like not a good thing either. It's
right.
Like, this is all wrong. This is not like, I'm just tired and I just want to, I don't want to fight. I don't want to ever feel like this again. It's just not a good feeling. So I knew, but I do understand where he was coming from.
Obviously, following you on social media and stuff, it seems like you are in a very happy place. You're traveling, like I said, and you're all over the place. You're doing, I believe you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah, I do.
What's it called?
Tate Show, yep. The Miesha Tate Show.
That's a very easy name to remember. But I would be amazed because people ask me about this all the time, and contrary to popular belief, I don't like to pry when it's unnecessary, but because of the sort of public nature of your relationship with Brian, is it fair to ask what is the status of said relationship? You guys are no longer together, right?
know what I've decided is that in all this growth of everything that I've done and the way of the world and social media, I just don't think people need to care like what the status of my personal life is, so it's just something that's just untalked about because the social media can just tear you apart. It can tear people apart. And I just, I don't care to have it in my personal life anymore. So I don't think that I'll ever, invite people into my personal life in that way ever again. People that I don't know, people that matter will know. And the people who don't matter in that sense, they don't need to know. So, that's kind of my stance. And I think more people in the limelight should adopt it because it's pretty hellacious when the media and everybody gets into your personal life.
So have you stopped using social media? I mean, I know you post some things here or there, but like you've altered the way in which you use it.
Yeah, I've altered the way in which I use it. People are led into the point where I want them to. They still have a part of my personal life, my hiking and my ventures, and those things are things that I love to share with my fans. But, my really like my personal life, like things that are going on with my family, things that are going on with my relationship, things that affect, that dynamic. That's not something that I think the whole world needs to be a part of.
Yeah, no, I certainly, I certainly commend you for that and agree with that stance. I hope you don't mind me asking, just because you guys were both fighters, you were very famous, your relationship and all that stuff. So here's my first chance to ask you about, said relationship. But I digress and I respect your stance. Let me ask you about Saturday. A belt you once wore is being defended. Do you have a pick?
I for some reason, my gut is telling me this is going to be a tough fight for Amanda. Stylistically, Shevchenko is nothing like, myself or Ronda. She's the complete opposite, really. And I think that a very good striker poses a lot of problems for Amanda because Amanda is a great striker. But if someone is better than her there, the problem then is not that she doesn't have wrestling, grappling, or judo, but she gets tired when she uses wrestling and grappling and wrestling and judo, trying to go for the takedown. She seems not as efficient as that, where in striking she really is. But if someone can beat her in striking, well, then there's the issue. So I think this is going to be a very difficult fight for Amanda. I hate to make a pick because, I really admire Amanda and I really like her as a person. And Shevchenko, she seems like a nice girl. I don't really know her. So I don't want to make a pick, but I think that this is will be a challenging fight for Amanda. They're both evolving though, so who knows? Who really knows at the end of the day?
They first fought on the card in which you became champion. Did you ever watch that? I know you were preparing, but afterwards, did you ever watch that fight? Because there are a lot of people who thought, given 2 more rounds, Shevchenko would have had Amanda's number, that she was getting better as the fight went on.
Yes, I did watch that fight, and I agree with that. That's what makes me question what will happen in this fight. Now, granted, I think Amanda has continued to improve immensely. I mean, I really think she's improved a lot, and I think her conditioning since going to American Top Team is definitely better because I think when she was training before she came there, it was just harder, not smarter, peaking too early in the camp. She would come in overtrained for her bouts. Now she's really finding her finesse as a professional athlete and as a champion. She's really finding her stride. So that may be something it's obviously in question is her conditioning, but that may be something that she's also improved on a lot. Conditioning is something that can be fixed quickly. Technique, not so much. And Amanda has a lot of technique. She really brings a well-rounded game to the table. So if her conditioning is on point and her technique she has behind it, Amanda is the better grappler. She's a better judoka and she's a better wrestler, in my opinion, than Shevchenko is. But we have to wonder because of that first fight. That's what I base it on. If there would have been 2 more rounds, I think it would have been Shevchenko's fight.
One of the hot button stories in MMA these days is the Featherweight Division. Were you surprised that Germaine essentially said, I don't want to fight Cyborg, and let the UFC strip her after winning the belt in February?
I mean, I was personally, because my stance is, what do you really have to lose when you fight someone like Cyborg of her stature? if you beat Cyborg, you're just on another level of respect, and if you lose, it's like, well, so has everybody. So, my opinion of it is, as a fighter, but just like from a fighter standpoint, I think it would be an awesome thing to be able to fight Cyborg. But I do respect and understand what Germaine is saying. And I don't think it's like she's scared of Cyborg. She's a fighter. She's been kickboxing for forever. She's one of the baddest women on the planet. But I'm talking about Germaine.
Yeah.
But her point, what she's trying to make, is that she doesn't believe it's fair. And that I cannot disagree. I don't disagree with what she's saying, and the fact that Cyborg has been caught. And I think even there's still some question in my mind of like the last thing that Cris tested positive for, but she was able to get it reversed because she said it was something that was medically needed for her. Her doctor said it was medically. But I think if you look at it, it's like still something that's performance enhancing, even though she needs it. I don't know exactly what it was, but I heard that it was something that can be taken for people who are making the change. Don't quote me in that, but I've heard some couple things like that. So I'd like to find out some more research, but I do believe there's just some question in some of that stuff. So I understand what Germaine is saying. You can't look at Cyborg and say like, well, there's no other girl that compares to her, like even in 145. So, yeah.
Well, when you go to these trips and people come up to you, what do they say they admire most about your career? Like, what do they remember most? Is there a moment that keeps coming up when you get to meet all these fans?
Yeah, people, they usually come up to me and just say, you're so tough. And the moment that they really remember was me beating Holly.
Okay.
They come up to me and say, hey, that was just one of the best fights I've ever seen. You came from behind and you finished the fight. You got it done when you did it. And they were like, that was one of the most crazy moments. People tell me they were jumping out of their seats and screaming and yelling, and that it was just such an epic moment for them. So that's probably the moment that I get complimented on the most.
Any regrets?
I kind of regret not being able to fight Ronda for a third time. I would have liked to make that happen, but I think we're both at different points, and it didn't. So, I can't live with it as a regret. I don't regret losing to Ronda. I think it was all really good learning experiences, and I learned them earlier in my career, and it made me tougher. I was able to come back better for those losses. Not many people can always say the same thing. So I took the losses with stride and with my head held high, and I continue to carry that mentality on now. If
you saw her walking down the street, would you say hello to her? What do you think the confrontation or the discussion, the conversation would be like?
No, I don't think I wouldn't say hi to her, and I doubt she would say hi to me either. I think we would just be like, oh, and then walk away from each other.
Oh, okay.
Awkward.
I thought you would say hello to her. I thought that, I don't know why. I thought you would say hello.
Well, if she were like me, I would say hello.
Right.
She's not. So the problem is like she doesn't care for me to say, I don't hate Ronda. I really don't. I don't like her, but hate is such a strong word. Like, I don't like her because we don't see a lot eye to eye, and I feel like, we've had some bad confrontations, and I feel like she's been very disrespectful. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not a person to harness hate towards someone. So out of respect to her, like, I would not say hello to her because I know she doesn't want me to. So why would I,
Fair, yeah.
If she was cool with me, then I may be just like, hey, there's been a couple of occasions before things even got way more heated where we were sort of okay, hi, bye. Okay. And I was fine with that, but, but it's just, I think more her terms than mine, which is fine.
Okay. Other than the panel this weekend or this week, are you doing other things at International Fight Week? Are you working for Fox or anything like that?
I will be hosting a viewing party for the Ultimate Fighter finale at a place called the Nerd Bar. It's pretty cool. It has bowling lanes and some video games and big screen TVs, a bar, and it's a nice place. So it'll be on Fremont Street. So I'll be doing that and probably a couple other things. But you know anything about the UFC, I still have yet to get my my affirmed schedule. So.
Okay. All right.
No, that's all that I know.
Well, it's been great to catch up. Great to have you back on the show. I texted a number. I don't know if it was your right number, but after the MSG show, the first time that I covered one of your fights in person was back June 27, 2008, when you fought Elena Maxwell. I don't know if you remember that in Strikeforce, way back when. And it has been a pleasure and an honor to cover one of the pioneers of the game's sport career and to be there when you said goodbye. And I think I've said this to you before, the way you handled the loss at 200 and showed up to the press conference even with what appeared to be, an injured nose at least. I think it was a broken nose, was very commendable. So kudos to you. You've done great things in the sport, and you continue to do great things as you now transition out of the sport. So it's great to catch up and hear that you're in a great place and happy and doing a lot of productive things.
I appreciate that, Ariel.
Thank you very much for coming on, Miesha. We'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Okay, bye.
All right, there she is, Miesha Tate, stopping by. Great to hear from her.